Welcome back, everybody. This is Brother Mutant here. Today we are not continuing our playthrough of Pathfinder Kingmaker. What we are doing is we're going to show you briefly, as much as I can make brief, what we've done for our characters that have been upgraded, gear that we've swapped out, as well as spells that we've changed around a little bit. So if this is not interesting to you guys, feel free to skip this video and go to the next one, which will be sometime tomorrow morning. Now, this one, like I said, will literally be nothing more than walking through roughly what I've done to everybody different. Also pointing out a couple other quick parts here. One, I found out where I was missing the last contact for finding my throne. Apparently I missed it in the tooltip pop-up when she talked to me the first time, and we were supposed to talk to the captain of the guard. So that's something that we need to do as well. I won't do that today, but I'll show you where he's at. Also, I want to show you where roughly the location is going to be for the pirates or bandits or whatever the hell they call them. That's basically was sent by Pitax as that last thing that I need before officially completing everything we need to do before going to Pitax. Again, we have the invitation. I'm fairly certain we don't need to do this part, but I still feel like we should. It's XP for one thing, and again, you never can count on missing out on free gear, so something of merit in my mind. So I'll show you roughly where that's at. So here's the captain of the guard over here, Highland, and he's over here by Valerie. So if you look at your map outside, he's right here in the corner. And literally he has a flag on him, so it's easy to find the guy. But that's all I really want to show you as far as he's concerned. Let's actually show you our characters. Mine hasn't changed much. Matter of fact, I think the only thing I really did different was I swapped out some gloves. And that's only because I'm like, you know what? I'd rather give the better gloves, like the acid gloves, to someone else that could capitalize on some extra damage. Other than that, everything else is basically the same. With a strong note to myself to remind me, don't forget that he is, of course, not only a longsword guy, but he really likes having extra weapons on his sidearm. So better daggers, again, are some choices for him. We had these already. I swapped stuff around a little bit. So as you see here, we have our longsword +3, our cold iron longsword. Hell, here's the unbound blade solo, just like our speed necrotic longsword +2, which is an amazing weapon for us because of the extra attack we get from it. But that's basically him. Nothing really different about his spells either, other roughly just making sure that he's capitalizing on his damage. I don't think I really did anything more than that. Maybe adding like sense vitals in case I didn't have it before. A couple of the haste spells just because I figured what the hell. And of course the greater invisibility a couple times to help us out. But by and large, he's more of the same. Now, of course, having said that, let's go to Ekendayo, the next one on our list. Kept his hat the same. Notice that he's using the Beholder of Wind necklace. This gives him a dexterity bump. And while I could have got that from a variety of different sources, I wanted his belt to be the Strength Con belt, +4/+4. So he has +4 for all three of these stats, coming from these two different pieces of equipment. Notice he also has the ability to cast Blessings of Luck and Resolve twice a day as a 3rd level cleric from this necklace. He has the Shroud of Abaddon. This is a difference for him. I believe we got this one from Jafel. This is just a +2 bonus to his resistance check, as you can see here, here, and here. But it also gives him universal sort of resistance to elements. So fire, cold, electric, and acid, not sonic. So again, a little bit of protection so I don't have to forget, or I can forget, if I will, to buff him up and not really feel that bad about it. Notice that we kept the hat, even though I could have given him something for wisdom, which would increase the number of spells possibly he had in a day, but only by a meager amount, like 1 or 2. So I figured, you know what, screw that. I'd rather have him have the high perception and the bonus to his swing, because he's going to always want to have that deadly aim on, and it's already at a -5. So the +2 that you see at the bottom there is coming from his hat. From there, ring-wise, everyone's rings are pretty much getting swapped around. So I got Ring of Planar Protection from deflection bonus. Yes, it's low, but I commonly cast Shield of Faith on him with the other teammates that I have. So it's more about the saving throw bonus against conjuration spells. He has one of the Rings of Luck, so he has an extra bonus, +1 to each of these saving throws as well. Again, luck-based bonus. They'll stack with the resistance-based bonus. And then from there, he has the Braces of Archery. Now, I'm not sure that these work, so we really need to prove to ourselves when we actually get into combat with him that these are working as intended. We don't see differences in the damage and the swing. However, it could be that it's not taken into account until after he shoots an arrow. And I've upgraded him as well as far as feats are concerned, because he got a level up, and you'll see that he actually got Point Blank Master. We have 2 different versions of it. One's short bow and one's long bow. And that's because we know we're going to have 2 different types of bow on him. We have the Speed Composite Longbow +2 and the Prowling Cat Composite Short Bow which again is a speed bow +4. Allows him to summon Smilodons as well. This one does more damage, as you can see, the 22 to 29 versus the 24 to 29. Actually, that's not true. Oh, no, that's why. There it is. There's a different crit range on the longbow for him. I'm not sure what that's about. It's not inherent to the bows. I must have improved critical for longbows, not short bows. So if I really want to try to get some crits, this is the way to do it. And again, if I just want to do damage, then I switch back to the short bow. And again, it's still composite, so he still gets his strength bonus and everything else besides. Still speed, has a better chance to hit, as you can see, but only by 1. So that's a difference between the two of these here. Notice that that difference by 1 is probably because I have longbow skill. Yeah, weapon focus and longbow. I've yet to get weapon focus skill in short bow, and I may not do that. We got another spell a day, and I'll show you that here in a minute. But remember, he has these various quivers. So for extra damage, he has ultrasound damage quivers, lover arrows, which do frost damage, and quite a considerable amount, by the way, 2d6, as well as a chance to dominate a target. And then, of course, his Ancient Hunt, which just adds attack and damage against Fey types, which is definitely useful because this is infinite use weapon. We switched out his armor again, back to the Shepherd's armor. Again, one of the reasons I want to check to make sure that this Bracers of Archery works, because this is also not showing up as working either. And it could be that they're the same type of buff. If that's the case, then we swap him out of these, give him to another archer on the party, and leave him with the Shepherd's armor. When I did armor for everybody, what I did was I basically unequipped everybody's armor, kept the stuff that I knew I wanted to keep, again, like his hat. In my case, I kept most everything. I took off like the cloak and just put it right back on after everything was said and done. I took off the necklace, decided that was the best necklace for me, put it right back on again. And other than that, I kept pretty much everything else. So when I put him back on, I'm like, well, yep, he's definitely done. For everyone else, when it came to the armor, I looked at the total. So you see the 8, you see here from the armor itself, plus 5 max dexterity. That's if his dexterity is high enough to accomplish that. And of course his is. So it's a total of 13. Basically, I gave everybody that made sense from working from left to right the best armor that they had access to. So in this case, he had a 13 armor class as a result of this. And I thought, that's not bad. And again, while you may say, well, then why even bother with his dexterity? Because even though his dexterity is not adding to his armor class because he was already at a +6, it does add to his reflexes, and it does add to his swing with his bow. And I figured, screw that, we want to hit. So that's why he has the Beholder of Wind. From there, I also know that, again, this is in bonus to damage for short bows and long bows, as well as the attack bonus as well. And again, that's a really nice upgrade for him if it actually is counting that like it should. Matter of fact, it is counting it. I see it right there, Shepherd's armor. So that actually does work for him. Notice, again, Belt of Physical Might +4 for Strength and Con. Again, evening those up as well. Extra HP is always appreciated, so is extra Fortitude. But certainly the extra Strength is doing a lot for extra damage for his bow strikes. We still kept Death from Afar. There is a better version of these gloves out there. It's called Gloves of Precise Shot, I think. We've yet to find them. Once we do, we'll use those, obviously. Not necessarily on him, though. And the reason for that is, notice that these, just like the Gloves of Precise Shot, which are, I think, +5 bonus to ranged attacks, it's any ranged attack. That means bows, composite bows, crossbows, javelins, darts, ray spells. And that's the reason. So he may get it, he may not. He may not need it, is my thinking, because his attack bonus as a ranger is much better than everyone else's. As far as the ranged attackers that we have. So I figured he can have the lesser version. When the Precise Shot gloves come up, they'll probably go to one of our Ray casters. And more on that here in a moment. By and large, we kept everybody's speed up to at least a minimum of 30. I figured, what the hell, we have a few extra boots, not many, not enough for everybody, so some people are walking around barefoot. But I figured I like having him have movement, because again, it's routine for him to shoot someone to death. And then from there, he literally has to jog his happy ass within range of multiple targets again, and then in the round after that he again starts shooting. So he's always behind the curve, so to speak, which is always a shame. But for spells, again, more of the same. I figured we just keep going with what works. No reason to change that up too much. I gave him Sense Vitals, of course, twice. He has Bark Skin now, so he can cast it on himself. Instant Enemy and Greater Long Stride, again, we're always there. His pet, but because of his upgrade, his next level upgrade, he was able to get another spell, which we grabbed Freedom of Movement. There wasn't much else here to pick. I could have grabbed maybe Blessing of the Salamander, but I decided against it because I'm like, well, you know what? It's nice that he can buff himself in a way that he's never paralyzed. And I figured, screw that. That's something that's worth it to me. From there, of course, Doggo probably got an upgrade as well without me even noticing it, but I can't tell you what happened. because I wasn't really paying attention. But he's definitely doing solid damage, gets extra attacks. As a matter of fact, I think he got his third attack because he normally gets only 2. So when Megan leveled up, he leveled up as well, so that's going to be nice. As far as Tristan, we went weird on him. Notice his hat. We took off the phylactery. That's a nice +2 d6 to his heals, AoE heals, as well as I think his undead channeling, so damaging undead spell or area of effect. But I'm like, you know what? We're kind of missing out on his spells for a higher DC check and having a high wisdom, of course, which benefits his will saves. We're missing out on that by not having this. And he's so high right now for his saves, for his heals, I should say, that it's not necessary to have this, in my opinion. I'm keeping it just because I may not like it, but I do like the extra spells. Remember, a +6 to wisdom, that's a +3 to your stat over here, and that guarantees that he'll have, best case scenario, or worst case scenario, 3 different spells a day because of that increase. Now that could be even more than that. It could be as much as 6, but or maybe even 7. But by and large, at least 3. Yeah, so again, that's 3 extra spells. And that could be attack spells, that could be buffs for him or the team. So again, you can see the appeal here. We gave him the Cloak of Heroism. Not that we don't have other cloaks to pick from, but I wanted to make sure that everybody had something. There wasn't really anything else I wanted to give him. I suppose I could give him some charisma bonus, but he doesn't really need that per se. We have the Enchanter's Cape. He does have some enchantment spells. That is a thing. But by and large, I just keep these on the team because they are reasonably light to carry around. And if I need to swap out, I'm happy to do so. But a Cloak of Heroism, then he doesn't have to worry about buffing himself, or have someone else buff him, excuse me. He can buff himself with that spell-like ability. He still has his 2 energy source rings, so again, additional channels a day. That's 4 extra channels a day. That's nice. He has Braces of Armor +5. That's not the best, but as soon as we can get some better ones, of course, everybody's getting that upgrade. I even gave him a different robe. In this case, we gave him the Leviathan's Gift, and I've thought about it for a long time. This is why this video is taking so damn long, is deciding what to do with everybody. He does really good damage if his spells were doing full damage. And I thought about that. I'm like, well, it's not every spell, because it only works on spells level 6 on down. But many of his attack spells fall under that category. So why not have him have Leviathan's Gift? So he could literally do that 6 times a day where he can just maximize them. Poof, done. And because he seems to be really good at fire spells, I gave him the Burning Amulet as well. Now look at the list here. Burning Arc, Burning Hands probably aren't even on his list, but Controlled Fireball, Fire Snake, Fireball. Fireball definitely is. Fire Snake might be. Controlled Fireball might be, but definitely Firestorm is. Flame Strike definitely is. Hellfire Ray is. I don't think he gets Scorching Ray, but we don't care because usually you out-level the usefulness of this anyway on that. So the ones that really stood out was Firestorm, Flame Strike, Fireball, Fire Snake, Controlled Fireball, and Hellfire Ray. And he has many of those. And since he's not quite level 20, and many of those cap out at like 15, unless of course you intensify them, he really can do some good damage with that. And notice he has the greater intensified Metamagic Rod, so he literally can intensify any of the spells that were on that list if he has access to them, and of course any others that he wants to intensify. But this really would bring him up, for example, at level 16, he can cast that Hellfire Ray that I've slotted with him multiple times now at full damage. That's 15d6 of damage and 3 beams. And then if you throw the Intensify on that, it's entirely possible that 15d6 of damage goes up. So again, that's nice. We gave him both the physical form, so Dex was his main stat as far as I was concerned, as far as physical stuff was concerned, so a Dex bonus was definitely necessary. Remember, Hellfire Ray and those other Ray spells, the ones that he may have access to, are nice, and they are touch attacks. That doesn't mean he can just basically whiff on them with a terrible 12 dexterity, so we gave him a little juice right there. And of course his Cloak of Heroism will help for swinging as well, the +2 morale bonus to hitting anything with any kind of attack. So that'd be nice. But I figure instead of just Dex, why not give him Dex and Con, because everybody could use some extra hit points. He has the Gloves of Elvenkind, because again, I just wanted to give everybody a pair of gloves. So this is a nice little bonus to Arcana, but also a bonus to his concentration checks. He does mostly cast spells for us. He still has his Necromancer Staff, which is not great. But thinking about that, the staff is amazing for his summons, for his Animate Dead and his Create Undead spells, which he has multiples of. But the staff itself is a +1 weapon. Well, I'm like, you know what? He has a spell that's called Greater Magic Weapon, and that could buff the weapon up to potentially a +5. So +1 from the enhancement from the weapon right now, up to a maximum of +4 temporary enhancement from his spell. And I'm like, you know what? That lasts for multiple hours. It's like an hour per caster level. That made perfect sense then for him to still keep that on his person. notice, as far as weapons are concerned, I'm like, well, you know what? Just because he has that doesn't mean he's always going to want to, use that in combat. He's not a meleeer per se. He can, but he's not going to be great at it unless he gets buffed to the nines. But he does have the ability to shoot, and may not be great at it, but I'm like, well, let's give him this ankle breaker heavy crossbow no one's using. It has a chance to throw enemies on hits, so okay damage, doesn't have to rely on strength. So he's at least capable of whooping out a little bit of damage range style if he wants to. So there is that. But spell-wise for him, more of the same here. Make sure that everybody have move fear. I did go through, by the way, for many of the characters you'll see that I've done many of their meta magic upgrades. Not every possible permutation. I picked the ones that made sense to me. The ones that I'm like, well, he would definitely want to do this. So these are all extended versions. And while he doesn't necessarily need extended versions of Shield of Faith, Remove Fear, or Unbreakable Heart, I like having them at multiple levels. One at level, a set that could be at level 1 and a set that could be at level 2. You can even see we're actually using one of those right here. Divine Favor is the only one on this list, quite frankly, that I thought was a pretty good choice, because it only has a 1 minute duration. Now it has 2, if I use this version of it. And again, I'm kind of cool with that. This does add to his damage output. And again, if you think that he's bad at swinging his weapon, we have ways to buff him up, whether we're talking the staff or the ranged attacks. So he's not as bad as you think as far as swinging, but he is bad at tanking. So he's really not the guy that you want to send up front by himself. He can be beside his pets. That'll be where he capitalizes on some stuff. But by and large, he is not a fighter. Okay. Other than that, though, again, more of the same. Stuff that always hits, buffs for the team as well as protection for the team, stuff to clear effects from the team. Fireball is always amazing. He has his 3 animate dead. The normal version, we can extend those so we have double the duration if we so choose, but it's not necessary. He has a couple different magical vestments, and the reason for that is he's routinely buffing himself. He might as well be able to buff himself twice or buff someone else on the team if we know it's going to be a long haul. Here's a nice solid buff for another person on the team. Divine Power, again, another chance for him to increase his attack rolls, his damage rolls, strength checks, and athletics checks besides, and some hit points, and it gives him the equivalent of a haste spell on him, so he gets an extra attack around. I don't think it has anything to do with melee attacks, so I think that even works with his bow, or his crossbow, so that'll be an extra attack around when he activates something like that. Freedom of movement a couple times for him and someone else, same with Death Ward for him and someone else. Restoration is decent, and then this is our greater magic weapon I was telling you about. Remember, it's because he has that cool hat with the extra wisdom that he's actually able to grab extra spells. So this is why we had to redo his spell book. Kept the Breath of Life, but he has a couple now of the Flame Strikes. Raised Dead, he's always there. Fine Trap was always there, and I think Bone Shatter was added after the fact. I like it. It does good damage, and again, I like auto hit moves. It's already capped out at 15d6, and again, if he intensifies that with the meta magic rod that he has, which he could do, he could get this up to 16d6, which isn't amazing, but as he levels up and gets up to 20, he can actually get it to 20d6 of damage, auto hit. Not bad. From there, I capitalized on his ability to do Hellfire Ray. I thought about it, with that necklace, I'm like, you know what, he can get all 3 of these beams. So literally, he's doing the full 15d6 of damage now, and he's able to hit with all 3 beams. He's not great at hitting, again, he has issues, but again, if we buff him up properly, he should be able to land some, if not multiple beams every time he casts that spell. So I figured, screw that, let's make him be that guy. Level 7, notice that this is not a beam, this is a sunbeam, this is different, and I keep forgetting this part. That once you cast the spell, you have the ability to cast it again automatically on the next level, or the next round. It halves the duration, so it's not 1 round per level. The duration of the buff on you is 1 round per level. You cast it once, and then it should be in your trade, and you can cast it again. And every time you do that, it reduces the duration by 3 rounds. I keep forgetting that, so we'll have to look out for that one. So it's a better than I thought ability. Of course, our Create Undead, Lesser Miracle a couple times. We even got ourselves Bestow Grace of the Champion, and again, another free spell from that hat that he's wearing. So we grabbed this one because this could be cast, for example, on my main character. Remember, he can cast it on anybody, any friendly creature, but they have to be lawful good for it really to work to a full effect. In our case, that would work on me, or Dora, and again, it has immunity to disease, immunity to fear, and I get to add my charisma bonus, which granted is not amazing, but a +2, man, hey, I'll take it, and that's a +2 across the board. So again, immunity to disease, immunity to fear, all kinds of good stuff. So I will happily appreciate having something like that cast on me. Doesn't last long. It's one of those 1 round per level doodads, but I'm happy to have it. Weirdly, you'll notice that you cannot extend it. It seems weird. So maybe this was added after the fact. This might be a spell that was added by my mod, the Eldritch Arcana mod that I'm using. Notice that he has not only Incendiary Cloud up here, but he also has Firestorm. Remember, that was the other spell we were talking about from that necklace. And again, that's a bad boy that can do up to 20d6 of damage if he were level 20. He's not. But the necklace gives him 4 extra levels, remember? So even without intensifying this, he can actually get it all the way to 20d6. If he intensifies it after it gets to level 20, he should be able to push it all the way up to 24d6. And again, that's pretty nice. And of course, they catch on fire, which you gotta love that. So I gave him a couple of those. I even gave him another Lesser Miracle. Notice it's the extended version. I don't know if that's even a thing, but a game let me do it, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna try. And that's all he has right now, because level 9 stuff he doesn't have access to yet. Now, as far as Jubilost is concerned, this little buddy, we kept him with the same weapons. He got an upgrade, real quick, just to show you here. We got his greater 2-weapon fighting now, so he gets even more attacks with his offhand. So he's it doesn't show it on this because it actually doesn't allow it. Probably because he's using a speed javelin, is my guess. But he gets multiple attacks around with his bombs, and again, this will allow him to do even more attacks. So that's pretty nice. Oh, I know what the problem is. He doesn't have his dexterity on right now. He has to have spells or whatever buff him up for that. This is the one real weakness for him right now, is we have to rely on spells or his mutagen to buff his physical stats, because we didn't give him anything. And why, you may say, did we do that? Well, one, we wanted to keep these rings for the extra damage. We wanted to keep the hat because it keeps him light, and again, he likes the extra +2 to all his skill checks. We wanted to keep the Bombardier's utility belt for extra bombs a day. We wanted to keep the Bombardier's vest so he can attack better with his bombs. And of course, the bracers, the Gears rule here, is a bomb-centric upgrade. So there really wasn't a whole lot of place to put something that would increase his dex or his con, because the belt slot was already taken. Now, yeah, I could have taken Ekindio's necklace and put it on him. Okay, that's fair, but I could just as easily cast Cat's Grace on himself. That's a +4 as well, and he has that spell available to himself. So why not just let him buff himself up? So I figured, screw that, that's good enough for me. And then he has Cloak of Resistance +5. Notice he has Transparent Gloves, because again, I just wanted to give him something. He's got Swift Boost to make sure he's at least at a 30 for ground speed. So again, more of the same for him. Nothing really different here, except for maybe like a necklace upgrade and a different pair of gloves. As far as spells are concerned, we didn't increase his intelligence in any meaningful way, so nothing should be really changed here. I did kind of reshuffle some stuff around, give him like haste twice, for instance, because I'd rather use that more often. I think now it's buffing the whole team versus, say, like using heroism twice. Well, that would be nice to cast that on 2 different people, and they'd be buffed for long periods of time. Why not buff the whole team with a nice swing, an extra attack around, extra ground speed, extra dodge, extra reflex saving throw bonus, and while it doesn't last long, we can cast it twice, so I don't mind that so much. We did shuffle some stuff around again to make sure he had buffs for himself as well as the teammates. Notice that he does have Legendary Proportions and Heal. I grabbed him Transformation as his next spell, though, when we leveled him up. And that was the only spell I could pick, and I was happy with that. Well, not the only spell I could pick, but it's the one I picked. And I'm like, you know what, I'm good with that. Again, he has, while it says it's personal, he has the ability to cast any of his spells, these potions, basically what these really are, on anyone else. So while he could have that slotted for himself, he could easily give that to someone else. And while this will work on him and therefore his bombs, because remember, his bombs are not spells. His bombs are bombs. They're a separate entity. So if I cast this on myself, or on Jubilost, excuse me, he'll actually have not only a massive increase to his attack bonus, he'll get an extra attack around more likely than not. He'll have better strength, dex, and con, because that's what that spell does. He'll have better fortitude saves. Just all around a solid choice for him. I should actually swap out Legendary Proportions for that, but I do like using this one on someone like Reg, someone that's in the front line, that's going to be basically the front tank, and just having to be big as shit. So that's why I went that route. For Proto-Lich, notice that she doesn't have her strength bonus anymore, because I've decided she doesn't need it. You know, we're doing good for damage when she had it, but it wasn't really necessary because many of the weapons were starting to get her agile weapons. Not all, but the ones that are we're really capitalizing on that extra damage from the dexterity. So we're doing fine. So I just made sure her dexterity was pretty high. She had the gloves then as a result of that, the lightest touch. And then again, those can go even higher because she can use reduced person. Oh, I take that back. She cannot. She's undead. She can't use that on herself. Bummer. I have to think about that. She has the headband of mental perfection still, so 666 across for intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. She still has the cloak of souled souls. I actually didn't want to take it off because I was afraid that I'd kill her. I could scum save it, of course, to make it work, but it made sense to give it to her. I also gave her the robe of false death, so now she's immune to crits. And again, it's supposed to be a penalty to con. She has no con, so that's a perfect marriage here, is these two things. So I figured, what the hell, she's really good at necromancy stuff, and she basically is immune to crits. She's going to be in the front anyway. She still has a decent amount of HP thanks to her high charisma. Her fortitude and will saves are not the best, I'll grant you that. But until we get a better ring, I figured we at least can protect her as far as armor is concerned. We've given her the Charlatan's Locket. This is a weird, a weird little necklace. This one's the one that takes all your cantrips and extends, empowers, reaches, and maximizes them, just like you use those metamagics on them. We use that trick, I thought, with the Rod of the Fearless, where she does the lesser quickened metamagic rod effect, where she's throwing out an acid splash cantrip all the time. Why not have her do better damage, empowered damage, and shoot farther? Figured that's a win. One of the common problems we were having, I noticed in our battles, was that since the cantrips only reach like 30 feet, that's short range, that's kind of piss. So she really has to be really close to them to use that trick. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of annoying. And then I don't have the ability usually to flip-flop from that to, say, a really decent range weapon like your Shady Longbow that you see here. And I'm like, we'll just give her this. And there's other necklace stuff that I could have used. I mean, hell, she could use the natural armor buffs and everything else besides. But I figured, screw it. The other ones I've kept with us, of course, so you see we still have the clockwork pendant. We could switch out in a moment's notice if we think that this is kind of piss. But I still say this is going to be more fun than you think. She has the best bracers, not counting mine, of course, because she is squishy. I figured, what the hell? We gave her the best ring of protection, again, not counting mine. Now, and when she gets the better version, she'll probably get the true neutral one, which is the greater ring of balance, I think is what it's called, and it's amazing. And that'll replace this thing. And that will also give her, if I'm not mistaken, a bunch of resistances to saving throws. So that'll counter the fact that she doesn't have any coming from it, the cloak spot. She has a ring of improved proficiency. This is a deflection bonus, but again, that's useless compared to this. But it is giving a +1 to her melee attack rolls. So there is that. You don't see it here, but it will add that in after you start swinging. Excuse me. So I figured, what the hell? Give her a better chance to hit. And that's a solid choice, I think, for her. She has, of course, her rod's still the same down here. Lesser persistent. Her inflict critical wounds once, so she can heal herself in a pinch. The greater belt of perfect components was important for me to keep that on her, much like this necklace now. So this is literally empowered and extended to level 1, 2, and 3 spells for free. So all her buffs, at least the low level ones, will be double duration. I'm gonna get a drink here, guys. Excuse me a minute. Goodness, what the hell? Anyway, I wanted to have that on her. That's one of the reasons for these gloves. I still will keep these gloves on her. With the ability to cast Reduce Person at Will, they don't have to be cast on her. I suppose there is that. She could actually buff the whole damn team with that same pair of gloves. And it will last for 5 minutes per casting, so that's kind of cool. But she does have Boots of Elvenkind because I just wanted to give her something. She's always with the team, so I wanted to slot her out fully. Now, as far as... let's actually talk about her spells first. Originally was starting to think about making her have the Frozen Shout hat, as well as the necklace that allowed extra damage for cold spells, because the hat does that and so does the necklace. And she has enough cold spells, as you will see, that she could actually capitalize on some serious goddamn damage there. And I thought about it for a while, but I'm like, you know what, then I miss out on giving her an intelligence buff. And she's really all about the intelligence for extra spells today. Better DC checks as well. So I'm like, So I may swap these out, change these out a little bit. But I still like them. They do sneak attack damage, but remember, she is a Necro Lord after all. She needs her necromancy spells, so like Raven Enfeeblement's still on the list. Put a grease spell in there because, again, always helpful. Again, I've metamagicked up the stuff that made sense. In many cases, I think I actually did this for all of them. But notice that she still has plenty of ray spells. She even has the intensified versions of the Snowball for extra damage anyway. She has her buffs for herself, nice crowd control abilities in case the poop hits the fan. She always has the ability to summon undead, remember. That was available at level 1 for her. I gave her greater magic weapon, much like we did for the other character, because I'm like, you know what? She does have these weapons, and they're good. They're not great, but she can use this to buff up the main weapon all the way up to a +5. So I figured, what the hell, that's a better swing. She still has heroism at least once. I gave her a lot of ray spells. Notice I gave her even Burning Arc, and you may think that's kind of silly. You'd be surprised how often I have like 3 bad guys there where I could kill any of them with a ray spell, but then I still have 2 bad guys then to deal with. Whereas this spell alone would be enough to take out the last little health on all 3 of them, and then it'll bounce through the 3 of them and they'll die. And it's the intensified version, so I figured screw it. It does 15d6 then of damage to the first guy it hits, and then half that for the next guys it bounces through. So I'm like, that's pretty cool. We still gave her, of course, the intensified Bone Shaker. Now that's kind of a waste because, well, you would think it's, let me phrase it this way, you would think it's kind of a waste because once you get to level 20, there is no cap to it. It actually caps out because your levels are stopped at level 20. But that's not true for her, because she actually has 2 pieces of gear that help for necromancy spells, one of which helps with necromancy spells by increasing her level by 2. So she's actually considered for her necromancy spells right now level 19. When she's level 20, she'll be considered level 22. So this will be capable of being intensified. It won't be much. It'll be just another d6 of damage. But I still thought that was kind of cool. And we gave her a slow spell because why the hell not, help for some more crowd control. Also sets up her targets for being hit. Remember, they have a penalty to their armor class as well. From here, again, a couple more undead spells just so she has extra out if she needs it. Remember, she has 2 different pools to pull from. Greater Invis, because obvious, she's a sneak attacker. Plenty of race spells again, and the intensified versions we know does work, as well as the innervation spell, because again, necromancy, not that it's net matters because there's no DC check on this, but I still love the spell. Up here we've got the upgraded versions of Dragon's Breath for intensified version, so it really is getting the full 17d6 of damage right now for her. Cone of Cold's doing 15d6. We have a Bone Shatter that's doing intensified version, so it will actually get 17d6 plus 2, so 19d6 of damage auto hit. And I gave her Genie Kind, which you may be like, what the hell is that about? Well, remember, she doesn't have a necklace of natural armor enhancement, so this necklace or this spell gives you that plus 4 natural armor bonus enhancement. So it doesn't last long. That's the only downside. It gives her other stuff besides, like it turns her weapon into a flaming or an electric or a cold or an acid weapon, and she gets some minor resistances to that. It increases her ground speed too. But basically, if I really need her to be extra tanky, this is what that spell's for. From here, level 6, again, Cone of Cold, intensified version now, so it's doing the full 17d6 right now. Eventually, a full 20d6 by the end of her build of Cone of Cold damage, massive damage. She has a Hellfire Ray, and I managed to get her a transformation spell in, so she's doing well for that. She did level up. And grabbed herself Greater Spell Focus Necromancy now, so that she has another Necromancy bump for her Necromancy spells. And she has a lot of gear that actually gives her that as well. Again, Rod of Undeath, the Cloak of Souled Souls, so she has like +2, +4, then another +2 from her Spell Focus and Greater Spell Focus. So her DC checks currently are +6 for Necromancy spells, period. Which is pretty nice. She don't have a lot of them, but she can slot them out. So I thought that was a pretty good choice for her. Now let's talk about Eliza, the other mercenary teammate friend of mine. This is a lawful neutral character. She has to be lawful to be a monk. Remember, we did a monk dip. We made sure that she had decent armor. Doesn't look like it, but she hasn't buffed up, and she doesn't have her fighting defensively and all that cool shit running right now, obviously. But she still has her crown. That's a +6 to intelligence, wisdom, charisma. She still has the cloak of the bear, or she has it now. I can't remember if she had it before. I know she did once in the past. I figured she's up front. She should have the one that protects her from combat maneuvers, hence the +4 to her CMD, so combat maneuver defense. Gives her a chance to avoid being tripped and all that other nasty shit that could happen to the frontliner. She has the Ring of Blur, so she's always under the effect of a blur spell. So that's really going to be nice for her. And again, I can't stress the importance of that because she can't cast that spell on her own. I gave her a Ring of Evasion, and the best thing about her is not only does that give her basically the ability to half damage, to ignore damage if she makes a reflex save, but she also has, where's that, Stalwart. So again, if it's a Fortitude or Will save, that could half the damage. She takes no damage if she makes those checks. So basically, any of her checks, if she makes them, and they would cut the damage in half, she would actually take no damage from those spells. Every last one of them. So whether it's a Fortitude, Reflex, or Will save. And I thought that was pretty cool. I'm sure we did that before, but I wanted to make sure that we made that clear. She has some good bracers of armor class. Again, she needs that for armor because she's still using her mesmerizing robe. She's got the best natural armor enhancement necklace on. She has a solid bonus to Dex and Con. That was her most important stats for me because extra hit points for being the front, and of course the dex for extra armor. But she is a strength-based character, so we still gave her the Manticore's Claw, so she has a bonus to her strength. Now, of course, she could melee and do better with her natural fists on arm striking than she could with some of these other things because of those Manticore's Claws. But it's not much better. And she's still got the Steel Wind, so she gets like a retarded number of attacks in a combat round. Thanks to the only weapon in the game that has greater speed. That's 2 extra attacks a round, plus Flurry of Blows, plus her normal 3 attacks. So she's doing really good for herself right now. And again, she'll just get better and better by the time she gets to level 20. We have, of course, the Ruins Quarterstaff and the Flaming Speed Quarterstaff. Those are decent. The damage goes down. I noticed we lost 1 attack for this one, but it's a speed weapon, not a greater speed weapon. But the damage went up. So 13 to 23 versus 9 to 12. So again, this the lowest category on here is the better than the best category on this one. So while we're losing an attack a round, I really don't think we would feel it if we switched over. But I would not use this outright. I'd actually go for the other 6. Why? Because an extra attack is an extra attack, which means an extra chance to hit. She has sneak attack damage. She has precise strike. So again, anything that she can do to like set up an opponent and weaken them, the more attacks that she has, the better she has to land those things. So I figure we'll keep this one as her main. Use that if we need like fire damage. This one here is more because it does the force damage. And again, it's a solid attack. Doesn't show the 2d6 of damage. You see that? So the 2d6 is added after the fact. And it does give her a bonus being that she's lawful to concentration checks. But I don't really worry about that so much for someone that's as tanky as she's going to be. And of course we have the other Heart Piercer side, the only other good side we have right now. Sold the other 2 commas because we never use them. But this one's decent because it does it's an agile weapon, not that she cares, but it does that bleeding effect to the target, which is nice. And it gives her a bonus to initiative checks, which is of course always helpful. But I figured this will be her main. Notice that glove-wise, we were talking about that. Opportunist Boots, we gave her these. There's only 2 of these sets that we had. So she got 1 of them, and that's because I'd rather her have the additional attack of opportunities. Reason for that is because her dex is not that good, and she is the front runner. She's the one up in the middle, in the thick of everything. So if anyone is trying to peel away from her, that's attack of opportunity. Well, if they all try to peel away from her to go bum rush the rest of our team, she needs those extra attacks of opportunity for that reason. And I thought that was a good call. We gave her the Intensified Metamagic Rod, level 6 on down. That's the highest spell she can cast is level 6. Which she does have access to now. This gives her the ability then of doing extra damage for a lot of spells, as she does not have Metamagic Intensify. She has Metamagic Reach, and that was so we could literally shoot stuff. I did not actually go through this list, which I probably should, but we can do that on the fly. It doesn't much matter. But you can see there's a variety of spells that she can reach. Only if there is a personal area of effect on themselves, like you see with Divine Favor, can she not reach it, like shoot it farther. Like on a teammate. The reason she can do this, even if it's a touch attack or a touch spell, now it's close range, but it'd be level 2. So she'll have that ability. And again, I like the options. So if she can use Bone Shaker here, she runs out of level 2 spells. Well, she could have more Bone Shakers here that shoot even farther. So that's nice. Doesn't do more damage, but it will shoot farther away. And that's the longest possible range. So that could come in super handy. But by and large, that's more what she does here. For her last 2 spell picks, because she did level up. Notice that I grabbed Cleanse and Heal, and the reasoning behind these, instead of getting something that was more combat oriented, if you will, she is up front, and the ability to instantly heal herself for a crap ton of HP is really, really valid. Also the ability to cleanse herself while healing herself, so if she ever gets blinded or has some ability damage, gets sickened or confused, once I get control of her again, where she's like for this one round and one round only, she's suddenly back on board, but she's still under the confused state. If I have enough wherewithal to do it, I can actually cleanse her of that problem using this on her in that same combat round. So that's the rationale here. So again, more of taking care of herself. As far as Lindsay is concerned, now we have given her a different hat. As you can see, she got a Philosopher's Hat. This is a +4 to her 3 stats. And it's not the best choice ever. She's mostly a charisma-based caster, so you'd think I'd give her something like the Headband of Alluring Charisma, getting this up another +1 on this side, +2 over here. And that would be a fine choice. You'd get more spell uses a day. Not that she particularly cares being a spontaneous caster, but it's helpful. But I'd like this because, again, more wisdom, again, better will saves, solid choice. And she is starting to be a philosopher in her own right, writing books and all, so it made sense. She's a ranged attacker, so notice the DR5/melee. So literally melee attacks will still do full damage, but ranged attacks will be lessened by 5. That's cool, and I thought that was nice because it'll help protect her while she's in the back ranks. We gave her the best crossbow I have, which is the Mistslayer one, and that was Jubilos originally. And I thought about it like, Jubilos is always using the javelins because he really is that good with those javelins. It makes sense to keep him with the javelins. So here you go. Lindsay needs that so she can capitalize on extra attacks around thanks to a rapid shot. And it's a really solid +5 to the swing. Does really good damage. It gets even better if it's a larger size category from her. So again, really, really nice. And I figured, what the hell, give her something that can make an impact, if you will. As far as other stuff, she's got a really nice cloak of resistance, so she has really nice spells. She can't change out her ring here, so that one's always there, but we gave her a decent ring of protection, +3. Now, yes, she can still use a buff, but she also has a amulet of natural armor +4, the second best one we have. We changed out her armor. Notice this. She is using armor that can capitalize on the high dexterity that she has, so 7 and 6 total is 13. So there's 13 armor here. Notice Arcane Spell Failure isn't a problem for her because she's a bard. Notice it gives her a bonus to her reflex saves. So again, if I didn't have the Cloak of Resistance, for whatever we want to swap something out, like a Heroism Cloak, or maybe want to give her something for like one of her knowledge checks or whatever, or maybe increase her enchantment spells, I have the ability to do so, and her reflex doesn't go in the toilet, because that would go down 5 points. With this, it'll only go down 2 points, so it'll drop down to a 21. And I'm like, that's okay. Now, sadly, the other ones will go in the toilet. Nothing I can do about that. It does give her the ability to cast Freedom of Movement on herself to once a day. And again, she may have access to that spell, but I like it. And again, it's mithril. And it says it's a chain mail in the title, but it's a chain shirt. So actually, I could have given this to Octavia. And I really, for the longest time, had toyed around with the idea of giving this to Octavia, because she really could capitalize on that, because she has Arcane Spell Failure, or Arcane Armor Training, which would take this 10% away. And she has enough dexterity with buffs and whatnot that she would actually reach that level +6 here. So she could do that too. Now, having said that, I didn't, and we'll get to why here in a moment. Athlete's Glove, because again, I want to give her something else. No shit, we've buffed up her Strength Index, not her Con. While Con is important for her, she's in the back ranks, and she's probably not going to get hit, hopefully, as much. And when she does, if it's arrows or bolts or any kind of other ranged physical attacks, she will suck up some of that damage thanks to her cool hat. She's got the Boots of Elvenkind, again, the mobility increase. These do not stack because they're both competence bonuses. So she has a +3 to athletics and a +5 to mobility thanks to these two pieces of gear. And that's only because I didn't have anything else really to give her. Spell-wise, Lindsay is rocking the typical stuff above from the team. I did toy with the idea of making her really good at illusions by giving her like the bracers of it's like there's an illusion bracer that's a +1 to the DC check of illusions, just like there's a good cloak here for bonus to her enchantment spells. I thought of taking her that way, and that's a valid option, but she doesn't have many illusion spells, so we're really paying attention to that while we level her up. Yes, she has some enchantment spells. Yes, she does have some illusion spells, but by and large, that really wasn't her cup of tea. She has plenty of enchantment, I'd say more than she has illusion. But she did get some illusion spells, for instance, Shadow Evocation's here, Phantasm Web is here. That's really all there was. It's like 3 spells maybe that were illusions. Probably 4 or 5 that were enchantments. So again, I feel that was a good choice for her. From there, here's Octavia. Now, again, let's jump right to her armor so you can see why I did hers different than what I was giving Lindsay. It's the same stuff, 7 and 6, so 13. Still the best armor I could give her. Not counting, of course, bracers. She can capitalize on all that dexterity, and we're doing so because of the Sash of Slash. So this gives her some extra protection. So this is DR5 against melee attacks, physical attacks, unless they're slashing. So that includes arrows and bolts, because arrows and bolts are piercing damage. So this would protect her from ranged arrows. That's nice. Not amazing. Her hit points are crap. But currently, because she's not on the team, I haven't switched off her ability for upping her dexterity. She's a transmuter as a wizard, and as a transmuter, for every level 1, they get a +1 they can put in any of their 3 physical stats, strength, dex, or con. Normally it's on dex, because why not? But at every 5th level, so level 5, 10, 15, and 20, if you stay wizard, which she did not do, she can get another +1. So right now she's enough of a wizard that she is getting a +2 bonus to her dex. But again, that's overridden by the Sash of Slash. So what I will do is I'll turn that off and put it on con, so her con will jump up to a 10. Now that's not going to be amazing, but it will give her more hit points, and it will increase her fortitude at least the tiniest bit. And I figured that's worth it. I didn't have anything else really I could have given her, because everyone else was using all the other con Bex belt stuff. But this gives her a nice armor, and it allowed me to take the bracers away and give her the golden vision. These are the illusion bracers. Gives her a save bonus against illusion spells as well. And she does have enough illusion spells as a full caster wizard. By the time she's done with this build, she'll be a level 19 wizard. That's pretty badass. She still has the frozen shout. She still has the amulet of 4 elements, and I could give her the best robes when we finally get them, and we may do that. But then at that point, I'll probably have to give her braces of armor class. But she has the herbalist cape. This is how I managed to get her intelligence up. It only goes up 4 points, though. That's not great. This is one of the few things that's an intelligence bump in the game that's not a headpiece or armor. Yeah. So usually the intelligence bonuses come from one of these 2 slots, and we don't have those for any kind of intelligence upgrade. So this was one of the rare exceptions of the rule. So I'm like, you know what? She could totally use that. And again, delay poison 3 times a day that she can cast on herself. That's kind of helpful. She has Ring of Chaos. Now this is the ring we just recently acquired. And she's chaotic. Because she's chaotic, she can equip it. +4 deflection ring. So that's basically a ring of protection +4. And the best part, continuous freedom of movement on her at all times. So she literally can never be paralyzed. She never gets caught in slow spells, web spells, or any of that shit. Never impeded. That's to her benefit, because if she ever gets paralyzed or impeded in any way, she goes down fast. So this is a definite boon for her. Notice that we have the source of invisibility still on her. This is the one that allows her to cast poison, who cares, 3 times a day, but it also allows her to use her invisible thief ability 5 additional times a day, and that's money. Notice that she has butterfly wings. This is how she's getting a higher resistance saves. So for her fortitude, which should be in the toilet, it's actually an 8. Her reflexes are very good right now. Her will's decent-ish, and it's because of this +5 resistance to all her saves coming from those. We just got those recently from our artisan. And of course, a very badass spell 3 times a day, Prismatic Spray. Figured, what the hell, put it on the best wizard we got. She of course still has the Grandmaster's Rod that allows her to do amazing damage and penetrate all kinds of magic, immune, and resistant son of a bitches, which we'll use to great effect. Lesser Quicken Magic Rod for that cantrip trick that we can do. Remember, she does have sneak attack. She is an arcane trickster proper. And enough rogue levels besides that she's really doing a decent amount of those, and she has sense vials in her spellbook, which we'll show you here in a mo. She has greater extended magic rod because again she can cast all the way up to level 9 spells. Not quite yet. She's at 15, which means level 8 spells, but she could use that for anything now that can be increase the duration. We capitalize on her sneak attack potential, of course, with raise spells, so snowballs, intensify snowballs at that. For level 1, shield spell to protect herself, reduce person, because she has to have something from the green here to fill in that slot. These are all your transmutation spells. Magic missile because it's auto hit, and again, if she's can catch them flat-footed, she can sneak attack with that thanks to her arcane trickster training. So that's nice. Have an auto hit move that's guaranteed to hit, that's guaranteed to do damage unless they just happen to be immune to magic missile, which can happen. This is a nice spell then for landing a solid amount of damage thanks to that sneak attack potential of hers. We have web spell a couple times for crowd control. Now that she's immune to that, she can just cast that willy-nilly, like stand in the goddamn thing and let them come to her. We have glitter dust, of course, because there's no spell resistance on that either. Sense vital, so that she can buff herself up to do even more sneak attack damage, up to the full 5d6 extra, which she does get because she's caster level 15 right now, which is where it caps out. 3 different scorching rays for some extra sneak attack loading. We have slow spell, haste spell, really nice choices for her. Heroism, of course, for a buff for her or someone else. Hold person, because why the hell not? And again, if they are held, then sneak attack is guaranteed because they are completely helpless. Battering blast, again, really nice spell. Acid arrow, we have intensified this one. I've convinced myself that this does work on acid arrow, and I'd rather her have the ability to shoot something far. Look at the range on this little son of a bitch. Long range, ray spell, that's not auto hit, it's a touch attack, but there's no spell resistance on it. And again, she has the potential of making it sneak attack damage because there's a to hit check on that too. So even if she wasn't an arcane trickster, she could get sneak attack on that shit. So that's a really nice way for her to really put a whooping on something, so long as they're sensitive to acid, or at least not immune to acid. Of course, we gave her Obsidian Flow, another transmutation spell here. Notice Wall of Fire says evocation, it's green. Do not try to put it here if it can. I don't think it will, But if it does, don't, because that's cheating. It's just because these came from my other mod, and because of that, the game doesn't know what to type them as. We have, of course, Dragon's Breath a couple times, the normal version, solid spell, utility, because again, 4 different elemental types of damage. Greater Invis again for her for obvious reasons. I mean, it's always nice to be able to go invisible and get all that sneak attack loving. Multiple increased versions of the Battering Blast, so the 76 of damage for each ball. She won't sadly be able to get to 4 balls because you need to be at level 20 for that. However, there's a piece of gear out there that will increase your evocation. If we can give that to her, if I decide to give that to her, she could get past that level so she can actually get that 4th ever precious ball. And that's another sneak attack that she can get in the combat round. So it's worth it. She has a Baleful Polymorph, just as a something. I could swap out the Genie kind for transmutation. I thought about that, but it doesn't last very long, and I'm like, you know what, sometimes it's just nice to have something turn into a dog. She has, of course, 2 different ways to paralyze you. Besides your whole person, she has her Icy Prison spell. Does damage. It's an evocation spell. Lasts a good amount of time. And I do like the fact that even if they make their check, they're not paralyzed, but they are entangled still. So it really slows them down and screws them over. We have intensified versions of not only Obsidian Flow, but 2 of the different Dragon's Breath. So again, she will eventually get to 17d6 of damage for this guy. And this one will eventually get up to 12d6. Matter of fact, I think it's already there. Yeah, it's at... No, once she gets to level 20. It'll be about 11 or 12d6 of damage. So that's nice. She has, of course, Disintegrate a couple times. Solid spell. This is her transmutation school. She excels at this. Greater Heroism, because why the hell not make sure you or someone else on your team can really, really hit the mark. Sirocco is a really nice crowd control. Cold Eye Strike for when you really just need to fling some spell damage off your hand and still be able to attack in the same round. That's a swift action spell. That's a nice upgrade for her. Level 7. She has Legendary Proportions. You know, it uses a dinosaur bone. Now, obviously, would not cast that on herself because it makes her big, fat, and clumsy. But you can cast that on like your buddy Reg or the main tanks. Have them do more damage because of the high strength that they have, and it gives them bonuses besides. And it does last for a decent amount of time too, by the way. This one here, Caustic Eruption, is amazeballs. Even if it weren't for the fact that I could do sneak attack damage with it, which she can. But by itself, it can do eventually up to 20d6 of damage. Now, the best part is the no spell resistance. So literally, it hits them, it hurts them. Now, they had to be, of course, capable of being hurt by acid. But if she maximizes something like this, especially with, like, say, that meta magic rod she has, the Grandmaster's Rod, it's maximized and empowered. Now, think about what 20d6 of damage turning into 30d6 of damage, full damage, so that'd be 180 damage to somebody, period. Now, of course, subtract any resistance to acid they may have. If they're immune to acid, you're screwed. But if they're not, it's going to friggin' hurt. And you can do that shit damn near back to back. Really nice. Gave her the Limited Wish spell, because why the hell not? Uses a lot of diamond dust, so I actually purchased another handful of that stuff just to make sure that we had access to it. Notice that we have even level 8 spells. We have level 9 spells already waiting for us, but she can't cast them. But for level 8, I grabbed her, of course, Incendiary Cloud. And now I think about that, I actually need to take that off the list. It's a conjuration spell. This came from my mod. So we don't have a transmutation spell to put in there. So let's actually see, can I give her one? Level 7. Yes. Here we go. Nope. Damn it. Blade Blast Fireball is also from this mod. And as such, it's not a transmutation spell. It's an evocation spell. It's thinking that it is, so it's giving it the green tag. Can't do any of those. Yeah, none of them have the meta magic tag with them. And Limited Wish is a universalist spell, so it shouldn't even be green either. But these are the 3 that she has that are. So she won't be able to have a spell slot in there. And I think I knew that already for her, but it's okay. I just need to make sure I take that off because it is cheating. But she does have Mind Blank once. Notice that it's twice because it's an unfavored school. She has access to it once. Remember, we want to test this out to see if we could use this to protect us from that bastard down in the Tenebris Depths. So that's the reason that that's there. So again, I'm pretty happy with her choices. Level up process, she can't think of anything that's special that happened while we leveled her up. Oh no, I take that back. We gave her spell penetration recently, and this is where she finally hit 5th level wizard. So she has the +2 to her dex or her strength or her con. It's a toggle she activates. That's why I say I'll turn that on for con, and her con will go up 2 points. because her decks can't use it. I don't know why the devs made this an enhancement, this upgrade that you're seeing here. This is this thing here we're talking about, the physical enhancement. I think this should have been something like innate, quite frankly, because that way you could have it stack with your belts. But maybe they decided that was too OP. Maybe it's not in line with pen and paper, so maybe this is accurate, but it just seems weird to me. And nobody's going to take this to 20 level wizard and get a +5. That's a weird ass number to have. So they'll probably do a dip out, which is perfect actually, because then it gives a +4. But again, you get belts of +4, +6, +8 even in this game. That's going to make that entire ability useless by the time that you get to those higher levels. I don't know. Reg, what do we do for him now? Oops. Reg is a little trippy because we actually wanted to make sure that his charisma went up, but you notice that we got his Ring of Reckless Courage on to do that. It's a +4 to charisma, but a penalty to his wisdom, which is not that big a deal for him. He's not really a wisdom kind of guy. And Reckless Courage made sense for him because it gives him a bonus to confirming critical hits, protection from mind-affecting spells, so that +2 to his DC check of mind-affecting spells, makes him susceptible to mind-affecting spells by lowering his wisdom. But I'm okay with that. Notice this part here where they become confused if he gets crit. So that's a penalty for this ring. Haha, but look at this. He actually has this charred mantle. This is from his people. Remember, he's the new ruler of the non-existent tribe of his. He has not only a massive +6 to his saves across the board, but he also has extra electric damage for any spell he casts that's electric. And he's immune to fear and confusion. So again, while the thing will make him confused if he gets critted, which obviously is not ideal, he's actually immune to that effect. So no penalty because of that, at least. And I thought about that. He's got Ravina's Crown on. That's that one evil bitch that we resurrected from the Mysterious Shrine. So you notice that this is a nice bonus to his protection. DR10 / Cold Iron and Good. So it has to be a Cold Iron and a good weapon, which means a holy weapon, I believe, to hit him to do damage, to get past this DR10, excuse me. So basically any physical attack he should be absorbing 10 is my point. And that's cool. I figured, what the hell? He deserves some protection. Here's your protection, bro. And that means he doesn't need something like Stone Skin on him because it doesn't do him any good. Well, that's not true. Stone Skin would be useless on him unless someone came across with that Cold Iron and good weapon, because Stone Skin protects you unless it's an adamantite weapon. Well, there's no way for it to be a Cold Iron, good, and adamantite weapon in the same weapon. So it would help him in that regard. But it's unlikely, like I said, that even the Cold Iron good category is in the game. So this is really nice protection for him. And it looks, quite frankly, kind of badass on him. Notice that we gave him a nice Bringing Protection +3. He doesn't have any bracers because he is using armor. Notice that he has the best armor he had on already. A solid breastplate that's an 11 armor class by itself naturally. And then 3 more dexterity points. Now he doesn't get all 3 right now. But if we buffed him, we'll say like Cat's Grace, he'd be up to there. So he could have a full 14 armor from his armor and his dex alone. That's pretty nice. He's resistant to acid like crazy thanks to this armor. And if he was a druid, he could wear it, but that doesn't matter. He has the natural armor amulet +3 on. He has a 6 strength belt on. When I can find a strength con belt, you better believe I'm getting it to him. But we don't have that right now, or if we do, it's on someone else. He has the alkali gloves, those who can do extra damage with his attack. He's got an amazing weapon, the scimitar, which, by the way, I need to go back to these other guys and tell you their weapons. I gave him a lesser quick and meta magic rod, so he can do that little cantrip trick as well. You'd be surprised, even without sneak attack, how useful 3 extra points of damage, even on a surprise round, can come in handy for taking out guys. But I like the alkali gloves for his extra acid damage on every hit. His weapon itself does extra electric damage on every hit, which is nice. The Thunder Crack, and this is one of the best scimitars in the game. It's a runic mage one, mage blade one, so when he channels a melee touch attack through it, so basically even his infinite use cantrips, he can channel through this thing, and instead of being a +5, it's a +7 weapon in that regard, which is kind of nice. And again, that just kind of takes away the penalty. Remember, anytime you do that, you have a -2 penalty to your swing, because you're channeling your spell through your weapon. But this gives it back. That's basically what that's doing. It's basically countering the effect, and this is exactly made then for a Magus. It's an agile weapon, which is nice. One of the few examples of a scimitar that's still an agile weapon in the game. He's not an agile person, so it doesn't matter for him. He's using his full dex bonus for really hitting and hitting hard. And he does some really good damage. He's really crushing it right now, quite frankly. He also gave him a bow just to have him have something else, and I figured, what the hell, here's a nice composite short bow, +4. I was going to throw it away or sell it, I should say. But I'm like, you know what? He doesn't have a nice ranged weapon if I ever need it. Like he's taking too many hits or something. He can step back and go to the bow if he's out of spells, for instance, and still do decent damage. He doesn't get like the rapid shot, precise shot, point blank shot, or anything like that going for him. But at the very least, he can still contribute to the fight. And the fact that it's composite and still getting that really nice dex or strength bonus was important to me. Of course, he still has swift boots on, so he can be extra zippy. He was in a penalty because of this armor, so I wanted to get him back up to 30. Going back a little bit, guys. Sorry we have to do this because I forgot. She has her Whimsy composite shortbow, but you notice that I have her working with the Crimson Counselor staff right now. It's a piece of crap plus 2 staff as far as damage is concerned. She's not a monk even, so she's not getting an extra attack around because of this. And she's not even a strength-based character, and you can't weapon finesse this, so it's kind of a worthless idea. But the staff itself, if you hold it in your hands when you rest, it replenishes the charges. There's 6 charges in it, and you can cast either a fireball twice, which costs 3 charge each, or Scorching Ray, I think, 3 times, which costs 2 charges each. And again, the only way to recharge that is for you to rest with this in your hand. So I put it in her main hand for that reason. I figured she can always start the combat out with a fireball spell and another fireball spell and then switch over to her Whimsy bow. So that was the logic behind that. We already talked about Lindsay's, and yeah, I think we got you current on all those guys. Except for her. I should point out that she does have, of course, the rapiers. We made a mental note to make sure that she gets all the rapiers in the game, at least to see if there's better choices, because right now she's missing one here. We gave her a speed dagger and the dark wind dagger that just showed up. This is really actually a nice combo for her, because while it doesn't do a lot of extra attacks, she gets 7 in a combat round right now, but this one is giving her an extra sneak attack die to all her attacks. So that's stacked with all the other sneak attack bonuses she has, and again would stack with if she casts that spell on herself, Sense Vitals. So she gets even more sneak attack damage. So she can really keep pace with Octavia on sneak attack damage and then some, in my opinion. And it's because of stuff like this. But I wanted to point that out to you. But back to, I should point out he did level up. What did we give him? He's just here, level 8 stuff. Already had his School of Power. We already picked that last time. You already saw that. Spells, though. We got new spells. Cloud Kill. Stone, Cone of Cold. Stone Skin. I think I picked that one up recently for him. I figured, you know what? The ability to protect himself was a good idea, and that was before I kitted him out with that gear. And I still maintain it's a solid spell choice for him. Now let's talk about Miri. She is, of course, pimped out with her great axe. She still has her sword. It's good. It does good damage, but, I mean, look at that swing of 27 versus a 20. And the reason I'm like, why is it so different? Because this is a +5 weapon, this is a +4. I forgot when I leveled her up, I used that little cheat thanks to my traits. You see where, what will it be? +3. She has a +3 to swing with any great axe. And that's definitely a cheat, I don't care. Because there's plenty of great axes in the game. That's a solid swing for her. And we need her to hit with that damn thing because it does, oh crap, ton of damage. So she will really just shred stuff. Gave her a really good strength belt. This is giant strength only. Notice that her dex is coming from her head, from the headpiece that she stole from Knock Knock. Normally has that. And I get there that because I wanted the extra natural armor bonus as well. Bonus to saving throws against death effects. And she has Life Veil over here to increase her con 6 points and give her the ability to heal herself at least a couple times a day. So that's nice. She has a Sentinel Ring because she can't use a shield. I figured this is the perfect person to give this because she never has shield spell on her and she can't use a shield while she's two-hand wielding. So this is basically the equivalent of her having a heavy shield in her hand. So it's a +2 to her armor class and a DR2/dash, which stacks probably, I hope, with all the other DR she has for being a barbarian. So she should be pretty goddamn beefy. Nice hit points besides, most damage coming her way, she's going to be able to suck it up. That's really, really nice for her. She still has her Tiger Stripes, medium hide armor, decent. She's getting a +4 dex bonus. She can capitalize on all that. So she's getting a 13 armor bonus between this and her dexterity. That's nice. We gave her a Ring of Protection +4, one of the best rings I have. I figured it made sense. And again, we even gave her a Shady Longbow. It's not amazing, but it's a +3 composite longbow, so she can do some extra ranged attacks if she needs to step away from the fight for whatever reason. I figured that was a good call for her. Val is rocking Korgash Shackled Fury Belt, so this allows her to rage if she wants to. Not that she really needs to, but she would be fine for doing so. And that gives her a nice solid +6 to her strength, so better swing. We have two different weapon accoutrements, we'll show you here in a moment. She has the clear vision helmet on now, so this is a protection from illusion spells, stuff that might blind her, for instance, as well as insight bonus to her armor class. So that's in all three categories. You'll see a +2 insight, clear vision, insight, clear vision, insight, clear vision. So as a tank, she needs extra armor. She has a decent ring of protection +3. Obviously, we'll still buff her up with like a shield of faith, but I made her immune to acid with this ring. Figure what the hell, let her be in like I can cast an acid fog, for instance. I have still in my spell list, and she can stand in it and just like beat the shit out of guys while she's taking no damage. She has a decent-ish amulet of natural armor +3, but she could always use more. She has the best armor I could find her. This is Ravina's Embrace. That was the one that that super evil bitch we fought from Mysterious Shrines. Adamantine armor, plate mail, +4. Max dexterity +1. She's exceeded that, so she's getting 13 +1. She's got a 14 armor class just from this, and her dexterity besides. And the fact it's adamantine, it absorbs 3/dash of damage coming her way, physical damage. So I figured that's nice for a tank. She's got good HP. The only real downside is I couldn't find a way to give her extra strength and con. If I can do that, I'd do so. But until that time, this made the most sense. As far as the weapon accoutrement, she still has her Oppressor Bastard. Remember, her Charisma modifier is important for her to be high because that's used for her Artisan role as the whatever the hell she used. I can't remember her job, but she needs the Charisma for that stat. And she still has her Defender's Bulwark. This is the best tower shield I found so far for her. Solid 1-2 combo for her. Notice we don't have another tower shield. I could go buy one. There's actually a good one in the vendor. We probably sold it to him, but I was like, well, we have this heavy shield again from Ravina, that same bitch that she's getting the armor from. And it's a good one, and it supposedly allows you to attack with it, but I don't know that that's going to work with her. She doesn't have two-weapon fighting on, and I don't think it actually kicks in. But if she has two-weapon fighting, maybe then it would. But she has another Ravina gift here, her Bastard Sword. +5 adamantine Bastard Sword, solid damage with that bad boy. +5 weapon besides, and ability to cast harm spell 3 times a day as a 11th level cleric. That's 110 points of damage on a touch, just boop. And with her high high strength and her high BAB, she has a really good chance at landing that harm attack. So I figured that's a good call for her. And again, the shield's decent. That's a +5 shield. So she still has decent armor once she switches from one to the other. Notice though that her saving throws change. Here and here, the will and the reflex. The fortitude stays the same. Why? Because she has a feat as the tower shield specialist fighter that she is, that adds her modifier so long as she has a tower shield in there to her reflex and to her will saves, and that's nice. So I would rather swap that out, quite frankly, for another tower shield, but she's doing okay. And again, I like that. I mean, if you look at the damage, the 13 to 22, 14 to 23, it's not really that different. This one's slightly better swing. But by and large, it's not that she'd be missing out too much by going this way. And it still looks pretty badass in my opinion. Now, of course, going to Hiram. He has strength and con that we've upgraded, left his dex in the toilet, which means his race spells are going to be kind of crap. But he still has a decent BAB, so it's not that it would be a bad idea to cast a race spell from him. He has 2 different accoutrements again for attacking, but he still has the Metal Reborn helmet. This is the one that came from the Dorraj. It made sense for him. And I love how his beard looked like it's been braided. I don't know if that's always been there or not, but when he put the helmet on, it's definitely braided for sure. That looks pretty fucking pimp in my opinion. This is a high charisma, high wisdom upgrade, as well as DR5 / bludgeoning. So bludgeoning attacks would hurt him, but piercing and slashing attacks will be lessened. He has a nice resistance cloak on, a decent ring of protection, which again he can cast spells, so this is kind of inconsequential. But if I run out of spells or I forget to buff him up pre-battle, there's at least some protection. He has a ring of luck just to give him something else. He has a natural armor. He has a +3 necklace on. He has the nice quenchless armor on. This is the heavy armor full plate, +2. With his dexterity, he's not getting that bonus. But if we gave him like a catch race spell, that'd be enough to bring him back up to a +1 here, so he could be up to a 12. But it does give him a saving bonus against necromancy spells, hence the reason for wearing the armor. The physical might belt, that's the strength and con bonus. It's +4 for each of them. And he has the Undertaker's gloves, because I just ran out of gloves, quite frankly. And I'm like, well, here, you wear these. This is a +3 to his armor class morale bonus. I think that works for all 3 of these categories. It is only against undead, though. But I figured, as a cleric, it made sense thematically. Now, as far as his weapons are concerned, He still has his Mallet of Woe, nice +3 weapon, does really good damage, the 2d6 of damage. And of course the fact he has freedom of movement permanently on, so long as he's wielding that weapon. He has a really nice ironclad shield, nice bonus to his wills, saving throws. His reflexes in the toilet, but his fortitude and will never look better. So this is a really nice upgrade for him in my mind. Notice if we switch him over for the armor, it does dip down because we're only getting a +3 versus the +4. This one, though, does have a nice little bonus in it, in that it allows him to cast Divine Power on himself once a day. Which, as a cleric, he can do that anyway, but I don't have to slot it. And Divine Power is a nice upgrade for him for swinging and for damage, so I figured what the hell. This is the other weapon we just recently picked up, the Righteous Punishment. So we sold off his Cold Shock Mace +1, because he'd been rocking that for a while, and gave him the solid +4. So it's a better swing, more damage as far as that's concerned, but less damage because it's a 1d8 versus the 2d6. So you see the 10-20, 10-17, so it's kind of weird. But this one, if the target is affected by a Smite Evil or a Mark of Justice, which I don't think anyone in our party can do that, but if they could, he would actually swing better at them, which is cool. And I figured that thematically made sense, but we're not going to be able to really use that. Knock Knock's our last because, again, we did not really upgrade the girls at all. We gave them some stuff, but nothing that I care about. Knock Knock got a headband of Mental Perfection, 4/4/4, because he lost his headpiece to her. Notice that he has the Necklace of Double Crosses. This means we have to be really careful with him because he gets extra sneak attack die with his melee attacks. And I figured, fuck it, let him be Ginsu Chef. This is awesome for him. Again, there's penalties to this. In that if anyone on the team tries to walk away from Knock Knock in combat, he will try to do an attack of opportunity. And with the way that his son of a bitch can swing, he'll probably hit you. So you don't want that shit. So just make sure that you're real careful with him. I think the way that that would work would be if combat starts, let's say we're in a pile, which is these 3 people up front in the typical spearhead formation. I wouldn't want to have these 2 running into battle before Knock Knock. So just delay their turn beyond Knock Knock. If he moves first, that's not them leaving his sphere of influence, it's him leaving theirs. So I don't think it works in that regard. So send him out first to be the front guy that goes and starts chopping people up, charges into battle, or just have him pull to the side so he's nowhere near anyone else. So when they start running past, they're nowhere near him. He will not do an attack of opportunity. And that's a way to work around for that. But he has extra planar cloak, so he can summon a monster once a day. I figured, what the hell? It's a bonus to his con, and he needed it. So figured, extra hit points. He is up front enough that he needs extra protection. He has a Ring of Security. This is a deflection ring, but it's also a resistance ring because he didn't have a resistance cloak. And it also gives him some spell resistance 14. It's lame, but it's there. He has a Ring of Luck because I needed something else to go in that slot. He has his Ghost Leathers. This one where if he gets hit, he gets turned greater invisible for 2 rounds after the hit, which basically increases his protection as well as allowing him to do sneak attacks for at least 2 rounds in a row. Potentially. I mean, they can be immune to sneak attack, I suppose. This is the Strength Dex Belt, +4/+4, and again, that's why I needed something for his con, which came from the cloak. And he has cheat sheet gloves because I figure, what the hell, he's a rogue. He's master of everything, so cheat sheet gloves make sense. And I gave him the other opportunist boots because, again, attacks of opportunity he actually capitalized on. His weapons have been the weapons he's had for a long time. We have yet to see decent kukri weapons beyond these. I'm starting to get a little disappointed in that because there's supposed to be some really good ones, and I don't know if we've missed out on it or not. But I've yet to see others. At least I can't remember seeing any others. But with that, that's basically the party, guys. Again, I wanted you to see what we had done. I know this video is probably going on for way longer than I intended, but this is a nice, decent breakdown. Again, you didn't have to watch this whole video. I apologize if you wasted your time because we're not doing any combat. But this is just a good chance for me to show you what we've done, why we did it, and where my logic is going for each of these various characters. So with that, though, my name is Brett, and please like, subscribe, comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye now.